Hello everyone, my name is Prakalp Binzade and I'm a mining consultant here at Nuevotech. Welcome to our series on life of mine planning. In today's session, we'll dive into the essentials of strategic mine planning. As you noticed from the first slide, our focus is on understanding the core concepts behind the JORC reporting code and other similar international standards. My goal is to break down these frameworks in a way that's practical and easy to understand, drawing on real-world mining experience. Whether you're new to mine planning or looking to sharpen your knowledge, you're in the right place. Let's get started by exploring what makes these reporting codes so critical for modern mining projects and how you can leverage them for more effective and compliant planning. Ready to jump in? Let's go. Here we see an overview of the strategic planning workflow. It starts with defining resources and reserves and flows through to the orebody model, ultimate pit design, and various schedules. In practice, once you have drill results, the first big step is to create an orebody model, which basically maps out where the mineralization is. Then we use that to design the ultimate pit. In an open pit scenario, this is where we shape the final pit boundary that we won't expand beyond. The schedules, long-term, cutoff, and short-term, come next, figuring out how we mine that pit over time. You'll notice resources and reserves labeled here. Resources are the broader in-ground mineral inventory. Some may not yet be fully tested, while reserves are the portion of that inventory we're confident we can mine economically. And modifying factors are the technical, economic, legal, and environmental conditions we apply to get from a raw resource to a declared reserve. For example, imagine a copper-gold deposit in South America. We model all the rock grades in our block model, then use software like MineOpt to run an optimization on that model. That optimal pit design is part of our ultimate pit. From there, we generate schedules that determine which parts of the pit to mine each year. Throughout this, JORC and related codes require that the way we report resources and reserves matches the assumptions and plans. In other words, our strategic planning workflow must align with reporting codes. When we finalize a schedule or pit design, we make sure our definitions of ore versus waste, cutoff grades, and modifying factors are all consistent with the rules of the JORC Code. Importantly, tools like MineOpt can incorporate these factors. For instance, when optimizing the pit or generating schedules, we input assumptions on mining dilution and recovery, so that the model's outputs respect the economic boundaries defined by the code. Now let's talk about JORC, the Joint Ore Reserves Committee Code. The JORC Code is the reporting standard widely used in Australia and many parts of the world. It's one of the CRIRSCO family of codes. It sets the rules for how we report exploration results, mineral resources, and ore reserves to the public and to investors. In practice, if an Australian mining company publishes a resource or reserve estimate, it must follow JORC's guidelines. Essentially, JORC is there to ensure transparency and reliability in reported figures. It also specifies who can make those reports and what must be included in them. In our strategic planning context, JORC guides how we translate our geologic data and mine plan into official, investable numbers. For example, when I design a pit with MineOpt, the tonnage and grade of material I claim as reserve must meet JORC's definition. Otherwise, I can't call it an ore reserve in a public report. Before diving deeper into JORC, let's remind ourselves of resources and reserves because JORC deals heavily with those terms. In simple terms, resources are concentrations of mineralization that we've identified and believe might be extractable one day. They come in categories like inferred, indicated, and measured. Reserves, on the other hand, are the economically mineable part of those resources, in the categories of probable and proved. Think of it this way. If you have a block of rock graded at, say, 2 grams per ton gold spread over a zone you've drilled, that might be a mineral resource. When you design a mine and figure out how much you can actually pull out and sell at a profit, part of that resource becomes an ore reserve. For instance, if our MineOpt pit optimization says we can profitably mine 10 million tons of 2 grams per ton ore, we can report those 10 million tons as ore reserves, but the rest of the resource stays just as a resource, maybe low grade or too far from the pit. Let me break down some key points of the JORC code in a simple way. When mining companies report their resources or reserves, they don't just share numbers they need to give detailed info too. This means explaining the assumptions about geology, drilling, sampling, and how the estimates were made. JORC even provides checklists to make sure nothing important gets missed, so investors get the full picture. A really important part is that only a competent person can prepare and sign off on these reports. This person has to be part of a recognized professional group and have at least 5 years of relevant experience in the specific deposit and work type. This ensures the reports are solid and trustworthy. There are similar standards around the world, like Canada's NI 43101. Before any report goes public, the competent person reviews and approves everything. In short, the JORC Code is all about transparency and responsibility. Let's talk about what a mineral resource really means under JORC and similar standards. Basically, it's a concentration of solid material underground that's valuable enough in the right amount and quality that we believe it could be mined profitably someday. But it's not just any mineral you find, it's a realistic estimate based on reasonable assumptions. Example, if only 10% of an ore body has gold and the rest is barren, you wouldn't count the whole thing as a resource. You also consider cut-off grades, methods, and prices. If you're too optimistic, the resource isn't real. Too pessimistic, and you miss value. For example, an inferred lithium resource in Australia might be 100,000 tons at 1.5% Li2O after first drilling, meaning it could become mineable. As planners, we use this resource to build a block model in software like MineOpt, dividing the ore body into small blocks with estimated grades. From this, we decide what part can truly become a reserve we can mine confidently. An ore reserve is the part of a mineral resource that we can mine profitably. It only comes from measured or indicated resources, not inferred, which is too uncertain. Reserves can be probable or proved based on confidence, but both start from higher confidence resources. Ore reserves account for dilution and losses since mining isn't perfect. Some waste mixes in and some ore is left behind. These are handled by modifying factors. Ore reserves must be supported by solid studies like pre-feasibility or feasibility reports, proving mining is financially justified. For example, a 2 million ton gold deposit at 2 grams per ton might yield 1.6 million tons at 2.1 grams per ton ore reserve after optimization, dilution, and recovery. This part is reported as the reserve, while the rest stays as resource. In short, reserves are economically mineable parts of a resource, backed by realistic engineering and economic analysis.